We will start today. You know, the charts still remind you that you and we are all together a team that is part of a big European project. And please be aware about that. We want to increase all the ambitions about deep technology, entrepreneurship. And today we talk about value proposition and customer segments. What I've heard from the groups who presented, were very good content you have presented here. So maybe it's just only for confirmation or for check. Did you use a good value proposition? Because that's finally the core, from my point of view, of the business model canvas. And these are the two objectives to get deep insight into value proposition. It's always worth to talk about the value proposition because that makes you different from other competitors. And develop suitable persona concept. Both things belong together. You need a persona complex that you have a visual where you are going to, that you always be aware to whom you want to communicate, for whom you are doing it. Because finally the customer is your boss because he is paying you. The customer is not the king, he's the boss, he's paying you finally. And this is always my mentality and always in the companies I worked for. So I answered the next question. What is one most important thing for any business? So please give me your answer in the chat here, of course. What do you think? What is one of the most, or maybe the most important thing for any business? Just mention it. Write it easily in the chat. What do you think? I wait. One new. They're coming now. Identity, yes, it's important. To adapt, yes, it's important. Ist aus, I do not understand. Maybe you can explain. Good idea, suitable marketing. Yeah, but you forgot the most important thing. Foresight revenue, these are finally all tools for whom you are doing it. Yes, thanks you for the customer, of course. He is still in the focus, and this is what I'm looking for here. I'm 100% sure the others thought about that as well here, but please always keep this in mind here. And please ask the right questions to the customer. It's about the problems they have. It's about how can you help. It's about the value and how to differentiate from others. If I ask the question how to differentiate from others, what reminds you maybe when you listen to that? Because there is another concept. This is very similar to the value proposition, but it's more product related. Do you know what I mean? What I'm looking for? Do you know? It's a similar concept, but more product related. Have you heard about that? What do you think? Two new ones. I always have to scroll down here. USP, the unique selling proposition. I don't like the explanation unique selling point because I think this is not really expressing. Unique selling proposition, you have a position, but it's a proposition. It's a better position in one case than others. And this is really important. It's very similar here. You can use it. Okay. Now I want to follow up, of course, because I know you need a lot of time for preparing finally your examination here. And I just want to go through the things what we will discuss today. It's about the value proposition and the customer segments at the core things within the business model canvas. So now you know about this picture I've showed you here. It's finally, when we talk about value proposition, you cannot place a value proposition without a customer profile. You always have to step deeply inside the customer profile. And what is finally needed is the fit of customer profile and your value proposition. You can have the nicest products, but if they don't fit the customer profile, you will not achieve any revenue, for example. This is relatively clear, I know that, but please be always aware about that. Please always keep an eye on the customer. You should love the customer needs more than your own products. That's finally the thing. And recall some of you maybe were in my, visited my lessons and they know about the Nokia effect. That is happening if you love your products more than the needs of your customer, maybe. That is my opinion, but maybe explain later a little bit about that. So now go ahead. I will explain now about the different points within the customer profile, and then I will fit them to the value proposition. Some of you made really good work. Maybe you have finished your work. Then it's fine, okay. But I think maybe some of you are struggling. What is about the gains and pains and so on? Do you really, did you really differentiate between it? Therefore, I would like to give you some help. So now go ahead here. And the next thing I want to explain step by step customer jobs, the pains and the gains. What are customer jobs? For example, in the B2B business, if you buy a software, it's not your job to buy a software finally. Your job is, for example, to process data. Or maybe you as a consumer, you buy some software for shopping online shopping, or you're visiting a website. Or maybe if your car is broken, you go to a mechanical and he needs a software to repair an electrical thing, for example. He just plug in your car and then he sees everything what he needs to do. All these things, what I mentioned now, are finally functional jobs. You have a function, you have to do that. Yeah. Maybe some of you are like cooking. Yeah. I have an example for cooking later as well, for the pains maybe. Yeah. Maybe you have to deliver some food to hungry children. What we call in German, hungrige Mäuler stopfen. That's functional. But maybe you want to explore yourself and find an uncomparable taste for yourself. This is a different thing. Or maybe you will cook for your friends. This is a little bit different. If you cook for your friends, for example, I just have to remove your pictures a little bit. Then it's more a social job, for example. Yeah. So, for example, if you buy some branded clothing, might be that you really like the sweatshirt or anything else, but in some cases, people like the brand and they want to demonstrate that they use the brand. They want to take over the image of the brand and they want to be finally accepted by the others. Or if you attend a networking event, or if you be a member of LinkedIn, it's not only to be a member. Maybe you want to build professional relationships, or maybe you want to keep existing relationships. It's a different story, maybe as well. But both are social job you are doing. If you're looking for a cab, for example, you want to meet your friends. Social jobs, finally based. And the third characteristic of the jobs is about emotional jobs. They are very important. That could be a reason why a lot of people drive or use an SUV, a sport utility vehicle, utility vehicle, because they will feel safe about that. Or maybe you feel some joy, for example, by watching a moving movie. A moving movie is a movie that hits your emotions, of course. Or you take a yoga course because you want to reduce your stress. It's for your emotion. These are typical example here you can really use about the customer jobs. And that the thinking about the customer job could be different. For example, there was a big difference, and now I come to the Nokia story, between Nokia and Apple. What do you think was the customer job Nokia was thinking? What are they doing with the handy, this Denglish word here? What do you think? What it was? The members of my course, they should know what was the thought of Nokia, what customers will do with such a smartphone, or let's call it handy because it was not a smartphone. What do you think? I just look in the chat here. But I will give you the answer, of course. And that what was different to Apple? Okay. There was something. Yeah, that's right. Mario, thank you very much. Yeah, I call you by their first name. You can do the same by me too. They want to call, they want to phone. But Apple found out they don't want to phone only. They want to communicate. And because they want to communicate, they want to reply to emails. Well, that was possible to another equipment as well, but they want to use social media. They want to use the website. It's a communication center as well. And they want to have nice designs too. That was the That was the thinking about what is really the customer job. And that's this leading to different solution finally. Okay, so thanks for the reply here. So I think I explained now about the customer jobs. However, during doing the jobs, the customer may feel pain about things. Yeah, they may feel pains because take the example of the software. Ah, if you are responsible, for example, in a B2B a B2B company, and you will introduce SAP R3. This is a huge software and it's really a big project. Maybe the ones who should treat with, the ones who are using the softwares, they feel a lot of difficulties. Oh, a new software. Oh, can I handle it? Oh, am I prepared about that? So it could cause a lot of stress maybe as well. And additionally, maybe you have some concerns about environmental or social impact. I give you an example for my breakfast tomorrow. I'm not sure if we have some fans here. Can you see that what I have here? This is Nutella. I always like Nutella. And my customer job is, of course, I really like the taste, but more I want to start successfully into the day. I want to get a good feeling in the morning. This is finally my job I want to achieve. But I have some gains, no, not gains. I have some pains too. Not some, but there is one pain for me when I use Nutella. What could be the pain by using Nutella? What do you think? What do you think? I just checked the chat here. What do you think could be here? Can you imagine what maybe when you read, for example, the last point, health issues, yeah, a lot of sugar inside. Yeah, maybe. Yes, sure. But additionally, there is even one environmental impact. And what is it with Nutella? It's because of the rainforest, because the palm oil that is inside. Yeah, a lot of forests have been destroyed to get fields for the palm oil. But Nutella is doing a lot for that. They are aware, they're not ignoring that. I will give you later an example. I think now, I hope this is now clear. In the beginning, I mentioned as well the issue of cooking, that there are different jobs for cooking. I'm not sure, I hope I can show that. The pain could be that you, during your cooking process, you get a lot of stress maybe, and you want to reduce it. And for example, maybe Maggi. You know these smallers, I just put it here. Yeah, yeah, you can see it. They develop a special opening where it's easy to open even the inlay layer. Compared to Knorr, it's totally different. You have to open it, you have to destroy it, and then the inlayer is so difficult to open. So maybe some customers have some pains about that. And well, I think maybe that's a good solution because it's easier handled. Could be. It could be a pain that you feel, it's too stressy to do that. And the company is thinking, how can you achieve a pain reliever? How can you reduce the pain? Now I go ahead here. So the next thing I want to show you is about the gains, about the benefits. What are the gains? They indicate the advantages. Yeah, you help the customer completing his original job, what he wants to do, what he wants to achieve. That can be tangible, intangible. For example, Nutella, they are investing a lot into communication. This is not only a nut cream, nuss nougat cream. No, it's a good starting point for your day. You feel more happy about that. Some of you might smile, but this is definitely the case. It's based on emotional gain. You feel more confident, or maybe even you reduce the stress with Nutella, can be here. But additionally, you have some functional gains too, depending on the customer jobs. For example, time savings. Think about the software solution. You want to increase your productivity. Or maybe if you are responsible for buying a software, you want to reduce the overall cost. These are gains, helping the purchasers to complete his job, to achieve his target. think about definitely about what you are really delivering about that. Okay, it's just open as well if there is some coming. And now, finally, last but not least, I would ask you a question. Well, we talked about the gains and pains and the customer jobs. How do I find out what my customers' gains and pains are, and maybe even the job? What do you think? You can use the chat. You can as well come in and tell me, for example. So, what do you think? How can you really find out what your customers' gains and pains are? What can you do? Let me know how to do that. Just only thinking. Be the customer. Ah, good answer, huh? Be the customer or step deeply inside the customers. Yes. Yes, you can use social media. Yeah. Yes, you can use surveys. Definitely. Observe or question, ask for feedback, survey. Yeah, come close to the customer. I give you a real example from my professional experience when I was a marketing manager. And I was a marketing manager for the tire business. You might think, oh, tires are so boring. They're round and black. That's nice, okay, but I don't like. But even then, all the total marketing team was forced to meet customers. We did it to and to find out about the pains and gains of the customers, about the jobs. We work together with an agency. We find out about customers who were prepared to buy new tires. And we met the customers in front of a tire retail store. We discussed with them about what are your gains, what are your jobs. And then I went, for example, and other team members as well, product management too, we went into the store and we guided as well the purchase process as a big brother, for example, yeah, or a brother or a good aunt or uncle or something else. I went and I just screened as well the face of the customers, how he's reacting when he asks questions and get replies from the staff. And after this, takes about 15, 20 minutes, we went out and we discussed about that. I always ask about the pains. And 2 weeks later, I asked the customers who bought new tires about their pains and gains additionally. You might think now, well, for tires, it's relatively clear. I thought in the same way. But then one thing appeared to me. I was always aware that safety is a big pain or maybe as well a big gain. But what I found out is that there is still a specific point in safety that is very important. And this is what we call aquaplaning, protection against aquaplaning, that has been mentioned directly from a lot of customers. And we thought, how can we use this information? How can we use, for some of them, it's a pain maybe, but I think normally it's a gain. What can we do in communication, in product technology, etc.? Yeah, this is what we really have done. And it was a very, very important work. So I have to check about about the time because I maybe, no, I think I can now will make a summary about that because I have half an hour. Now, finally, the most important thing is what you have to do. Just check. I need another instrument. Now you have to compare the gains, the pains, and even the customer jobs on the customer profile with the value proposition you are offering finally. So what you really have to do is to combine. I would like to start the gains with the gain creators, the customer jobs. You see, I'm a real artist here. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, with the product and services. And finally, what can you do? How can you use pain relievers to reduce the pains by the customer? And therefore, I would like to mention, based on this page here, some things that a lot of brands are doing here. And for example, we talked about Nutella. Not sure if you know, but they invest a lot in yeah, certificated palm oil. They signed a charter against all destroying rainforests because they were aware about the pains of the customer and they were afraid about being not furthermore socially accepted. You can read about that. You can decide on your own if this is enough or not. And maybe you have heard there is a green product of Nutella. I think they have introduced it one year ago. I'm not sure, maybe 2 years. But I didn't taste because I'm such a strong Nutella fan. For me, it is finally not a real pain, to be honest. But sometimes I have a bad feeling by using it. It could be. So as well, talking about products and service, I have the example Uber. And Uber is a very good example to show how they really fit to the customer profile. Here, another example, Pampers, for example. Pampers as well, the waste we discussed in our last course in sustainable business administration here. They always try to reduce the waste. No, this is very important here for them, and they're always developing, even if they are a market leader, because they know maybe this will change in the future. So additionally, I would like to show you the example of Uber here finally. And Uber is a real good example from my point of view because they have certain pillars of things they can really offer or they are focusing on. And this is about convenience and accessibility they're offering. They're offering flexible prices that you can pay definitely. And the third thing is about safety and reliability. Why? Because know about the customer jobs here, what they do. By the way, I have to think about, so I have to change now my instrument, otherwise I will influence so much. So it could be that the customer job is to have availability on request. And if you look, for example, at the product and service, they always offer a one-click ride, very easy. Yeah, they offer a cab on request. They are very quick, and this is helping us. Or maybe you want to meet a friend. When Uber started in, I think, 2015, 16, here with Uber Pop was, I think, the first approach. Then they offered a software as well where you can identify where your friends are, and even the driver he can use the software, and then you can go directly to your friends because the transport is just only a needed thing that you want to do, but your final purpose, your final job is to meet your friends. Really advance in that. I always hate to explain a taxi driver where he has to drive to. I always hate that, and I used a lot of times taxis. Yeah? These are big, big things. But Uber found out as well that, for example, one big pain is about thinking about safety. And therefore, you can always share your status. You always see where the driver is. The drivers are registered, for example. So they want to offer a trouble-free processing to reduce the pains. And for some guys, of course, a low price is a big gain here. And they are really offering low prices here. My daughters are using it, of course. Availability here, cab availability upon request, and a faster service. So you see a lot of things are really the advantage, what they really are offering regarding the value proposition. And that is, in a nutshell, what I would like to show you is ask yourself or answer yourself the open points that are standing here. Think about your products and services, fulfill it, helps, whom you are helping, and to whom you are talking. It's about your customer segment and about the persona. And they or who want to, from the customer perspective, think about the customer jobs they have to do. In some cases, the customer jobs can be even functional and emotional. Yeah. And how you are doing it by, and this is here standing the verb. So how to buy, reducing a certain customer pain. For example, the issue about safety. How can you reduce this issue for the customer? Uber gave an answer. And secondly, and Think about the customer gains. How can you deliver certain games to them? For example, at a very cheap price. Unlike competing value proposition. Because you should not be comparable, you have your own position. That's finally all I have. I think I have 3 further minutes here when I look at my timetable here. That's all I want to explain to you a little bit deeper about the value proposition. Once again, I noticed that a lot of you made very good jobs here. And for you, maybe it's just a confirmation. For the others, I hope I was able to give you some links or some support to think about your value proposition. And finally, I would hand over from the value proposition to the customer segments. And therefore, we're talking about customers and users personas. There is maybe a difference, sorry, I switch between buyer and user or customer and user persona. Think about the B2B business. The purchaser is buying a new software, but a lot of people are using it. So there is a difference between user and buyer personas. You have to convince the purchaser, but maybe you have to convince the user as well. They could be, you have to communicate how easily they can treat the new software, for example. Please keep that in mind. Maybe some of your business cases need both a buyer and a user persona. Can be. So what is a buyer persona? It's described here. I think you all know it's finally a fictional representation of your ideal customer. It's not a real person. HubSpot says it's a semi-fictional representation because it's based on real data. That's true. You have to collect all the data that is available for market research and find out about your buyer or about your user persona. If you don't have it, you try to assume as much, but then you should check it with all the data when you just started your business and when you are maybe get some deeper insights by your customer relationship management system. You should combine and you should control because finally it's based on data. You should always mention about the goals, wishes, dreams, the pains, the points, pain points, and all the things that I have shown you here, and about the biographic. It's shortly bio only, the demographic info, and finally have a look at the whole customer story. It is not a certain person, a real customer, and it's not only a description of your target market. And here you have a definition of HubSpot. Here they call it a semi-fictional because it's based on data. But the picture you see is not a real customer, but it guides you. You have a picture. You know, a picture says more than 1,000 words. And then finally, and I think this is even my last chart here, we prepared, let's say, a kind of format where you can fill in a buyer persona. You receive some demographic infos, yeah, the age, where he is living, if he's married, for example. And then a biographic, what he's doing, what he's looking for, yeah. This is take over here. What about communication? Because it's always interesting for you how to hit him, how to communicate, by which channels, for example. What about the influence of social media? And then you see here, what are the pain points of this buyer persona? You can take some information, of course, out of the value proposition. You can start with the persona, you can start with the value proposition, but you have to combine it. You have to check if this is in line here. And this is very important to find out. His expectations, his jobs he needs to do, his gains he wants to achieve, and maybe additional influencing factors. Additionally, I ask you firstly, please fill in. And then secondly, try to find a picture because a picture is always leading you. How can the fictional customer can really looks like? However, I have to add, normally you need more than one persona. You need maybe 3. That would be my suggestion because even in your target group, personas can be different. But here it's enough for us to make one because we want to reduce your load and we want to give you really time to work on it. We worked in the market departments very closely with persona concept. Not only persona, we made some mood boards where they are living, what they are doing to show them. The whole wall was full with pictures, finally, what we did, because we want to step into the customer's world. And we want to be very close to them, even if we produce tires or if we're looking for deep side innovations. That doesn't matter.